Let's start, however, in Egypt, where at least 5 people were taken to hospital and dozens more were injured in clashes between supporters of the ousted President Mohamed Morsi and police late on Monday night and right into the early hours of Tuesday morning. Now, this comes after protesters marched to a main thoroughfare in Cairo. The clashes came days after Morsi was toppled from power by the military. CCTV's Maria Galang has latest from Egypt.
Violence returns to the streets of Cairo. Police fired tear gas as they tried to clear out a protest by thousands of people calling for the reinstatement of the ousted Islamist President Mohamed Morsi. Protesters threw stones in what was the first outbreak of violence in Egypt in a week.
We came in a march from Rabaa al-Adawiya and they confronted us from Al-Gamra, and from above they attacked us with slings, bottles and stones. We had to go through, and some people were injured, and God knows, maybe some people were killed.
Monday's clashes came in the wake of intense violence in the days after Morsi was toppled that killed 92 people, more than half of them shot by troops outside a barrack near the mosque a week ago. The injured were treated by doctors who set up an impromptu field hospital, with some suffering from tear gas inhalation and others hurt by stones or rubber bullets. The violence came as U.S. Deputy Secretary of State William Burns paid a visit to Egypt, the first visit by a U.S. official since Morsi was overthrown by the military. The army had warned demonstrators on Monday that it would respond with force if they approached military bases. Maria Galang, CCTV.
Well, there's now live from the Egyptian capital, Cairo, is CCTV's Yasser Hakim. Yasser, according to the wires reports that we're seeing so far, 7 dead, at least 250 more wounded in the events that happened on Monday night and Tuesday. What's the latest right now?
Yes, the number 7 is the right number right now, and nothing new on that. But the situation is calm in Cairo. Everyone is back to his barracks. The Muslim Brotherhood are back in Nasser City, Rabaa al-Adawiya. They left the area where there were clashes last night in Ramses Square, and others are at Giza beside the Cairo University. Just a few, around 200, are locked up in a mosque in Ramses Square, where they were part of the clashes that happened yesterday, and they escaped the attacks by the people living in the area. They were hitting back at the Muslim Brotherhood to keep them out of the area, the people living there. And 200 had to escape, and they were locked, and they are still locked inside the mosque, and they are and the people living in the area are actually outside waiting to break in, but they cannot. It's a mosque, so they're waiting for them to go out. And police has been called in to try to get them out safely. They don't want to leave the place. So this could mean there could be more clashes in the evening if they don't leave peacefully, as the Morsi supporters could go back and try to free them by force.
Indeed. What about the crackdown on the Muslim Brotherhood? The UN Secretary General, of course, did express quite a bit of concern about the arrest warrants that have been issued and the crackdown that's ongoing on that group. What's the latest on that front? Has anyone been released, or is the crackdown still in progress?
No, it's still going on. There are investigations, and the judges and the General Prosecutor's Office, they went to take the statements from the leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood who are detained. A couple of them were set to go out on bail pending investigation, but it turned out that there are other cases, so they are still in jail pending other cases as well. So there's nothing new on that. Actually, there are more are wanted, and there are more permits for arresting other leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood, but they are inside Rabaa al-Adawiya area in Nasser City, inside where all the thousands of demonstrators are within their sit-in, so the police cannot get in and take them out. So there are actually more expected to be held in the next few days.
Indeed, let's turn over to the political affairs, however. The interim Prime Minister had given himself a target of Wednesday by which he would have named and appointed his entire cabinet. What are the indications that he will hit that target?
I believe he will hit the target, like you said, and already he's been working early in the morning, meeting the last batch of candidates, around 6. He met 6 this morning, 6 candidates. All of them have said that they have accepted, except one, and he met his alternative, and that was the minister, the post of the Minister of Antiquities. Only around 2 left, or 2 or 3. Some say that he might even hit the deadline today. At the end of the day, there might be a swearing in of the cabinet, not tomorrow. So he's going right on track.
We'll have to leave it there for the time being, though. Thank you very much for that update. That's CCTV's Yasser Hakim live from the Egyptian capital of Cairo. Now, of course, Egypt has witnessed quite a bit of political instability in the last 3 years. You've got images of demonstrations and protests and violence. These are daily headliners across the world. But despite these negative pictures, quite a few Egyptians seem to be living a normal life, enjoying their holidays and the festivities of Ramadan. CCTV's Yasser Hakim takes us to a side of Cairo that's rarely, if ever, covered by the international media.
The daily demonstrations are usually confined in certain areas not felt across the large 20 million population of Cairo. Stepping out of Tahrir Square or Nasser City, and Cairo would be full of diversity and multiple activities for all tastes. You can safely go sightseeing at the Grand Pyramids, visit the numerous museums, Pharaonic, Coptic and Islamic, have a dip in the water, or just take a walk on the River Nile like many couples do. At sunset, you take a romantic boat ride on the Nile, which only costs $5, but which will be worth much more in your memories. But when the night sets in, that's when all the action begins.
It's great here. Come join us.
We're Egyptians. We love to have fun and enjoy our time. We go out every night.
If you visit popular areas like the Khan Khalili Bazaar at 2 in the morning, you will find it buzzing with men, women, families and tourists. They are shopping, eating and singing till the early morning hours, feeling totally secure.
It's so interesting, funny, and we found a lot of things they are bought from China, and lots of things made in China.
Basically, it's a celebration time. They are celebrating. They're not like everybody's happy over here. Everyone's like enjoying, celebrating their festival, happy. And something happened, just back down. President back down. So public is happy for them.
Enjoying the nightlife or having a drink in the street after midnight is a scene rarely found in any city around the world, but normal in Cairo, known as the city that never sleeps.
There were security issues after the 2011 revolution, but now that is all gone and Egyptians are living normally. Everywhere there's a carnival atmosphere and even tourists are beginning to return, slowly but improving.
One reason for the absence of tourists is the stereotype image projected by the international media of a country engulfed in protests. But Lou has a different message to everyone.
Don't listen to what people say it's dangerous in Egypt or anything like that. It really isn't. Like after coming here, you realize it really isn't. It's safe, it's completely great. Come here. Egypt needs tourists, and I think now is the perfect time to come.
Yasser Hakim for CCTV, Cairo.
10 minutes into the hour, we'll take a short break. Here's what's coming up next. Under siege, government troops intensify their offensive against M23 rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo. We'll also be on the business of mending fences. A UN Special Envoy's maiden tour over the breakaway region of Puntland in Somalia is coming up after the break.
We follow the latest trends in global politics, economics, culture and sport, and how Africa fits into the global picture. You decide what's important.
We need to trade justice.
Africa's future will be determined by Africa.
For women's equal opportunity, for a better life.
We have to change something, and it's not the outsiders.
Talk Africa, a new voice for the world.
Welcome back. Fierce fighting does continue in the Democratic Republic of Congo between its army and M23 rebels near the eastern city of Goma. Now, the clashes erupted on Sunday afternoon, underlining the critical challenge facing a UN intervention brigade tasked with bringing peace to the region. Now, the M23 has accused the army and pro-government militia of trying to goad its troops into combat for several weeks now. The fighting comes as the deployment is underway of a new 3,000-strong UN intervention brigade with a tough mandate to take the fight to armed groups in the eastern end of the DRC. Still in that vast Central African country, separate fighting has driven over 70,000 refugees across the border into Uganda. That at least is according to aid agencies operating there. The refugees fled following clashes last week between the army and the Ugandan rebel group, the Allied Democratic Forces. But the details from that border area between the DRC and Uganda, here's CCTV's Alan Chiror.
Tens of thousands have fled the DRC town of Kamango since the violence flared up last Thursday, and many ended up just over the border in Uganda, among them 29-year-old Felix Kamusha, who has been living in this makeshift camp in Budandi Primary School for the past 4 days.
We heard gunshots in the night, and in the morning we are told we should leave because of the fighting. And we are not even sure who is fighting who in Congo, our home.
Many of the refugees have gone back as the fighting has subsided, but others have been transferred to a more organized camp at Bubukwanga, about 28 kilometers from the border. This is where Felix and his family have to live.
Uganda looks after people when they are in problems, and even when they get a problem like ours, we'll also look after them.
Some refugees are worried about the conditions, particularly water supply. The Ugandan government and aid workers are struggling to provide food and shelter, but aid agencies are convinced they can cope.
As I talk now, there is water. There is water, and UNICEF is working very hard to ensure that the clean and safe drinking water is provided. So the fears of water being bad by the people of concern, I think that fear should be is going to be minimized.
The World Food Programme said it had delivered 54 tons of food on Saturday, enough to feed 20,000 people for 5 days. The refugees have to now go through the process of setting up a new camp, which entails them clearing previously productive farmland in order for them to set up their tents. Congolese army spokesman Oliver Hamuli says the troops are searching for the ADF fighters. Alan Chiror, CCTV, Western Uganda.
Onto the Horn of Africa now. The special representative of the United Nations Secretary General for Somalia, Nicholas K, arrived on Saturday for his first visit to Garowe in Puntland since he assumed his duties as the head of the UN assistance mission in Somalia in June. K met with the Puntland President Abdirahman Mohamed Farole and other government officials at State House. He explained UNSOM's mandate, which supports the building of national capacity, peace building, good governance, providing medication and political reconciliation. Now, in that meeting, he also noted that Puntland has played an absolutely key role to end the transitional period for Somalia, and he looked forward to its continued positive contribution to support in the post-transition peace building phase.
Part of the UNSOM mandate is to assist with peace building and reconciliation, and to assist the Somalis with the creation of a federal state. And I have come today to hear the advice and the wisdom from President Farole on those subjects. And we've had an excellent discussion, and I am sure that together the United Nations and all parties within Somalia will work closely to make a better future for everyone.
Let's get the latest details now on what is going on with Puntland. CCTV's Mohammed Morgan now joins us live from the Somali capital of Mogadishu. Here, Morgan, the UN envoy, Ambassador K, in this particular instance, of course, has called for an end to hostility in Puntland. What's the latest on the ground as far as that story is concerned in Puntland?
Yeah, Rama, hostilities marred the planned first regional elections in the Puntland region, northern Somalia, semi-autonomous region. And the public outcry was that they expressed their discontent with the ruling party, Horset, and they've indeed actually set ablaze all the ballot boxes that were taken over there in preparations for the regional elections. 4 people who have since been killed, actually prompting the visit by Nicholas K as United Nations Special Envoy to Somalia, and as having been mandated by the United Nations Office for the Somali affairs. Now, 4 people have since been killed, and since Nicholas K's visit, the situation is a little calm and the elections have been suspended by President Farole.
Indeed. Let's move on to a different story that, of course, has made all the headlines so far this week. UN Monitor is accusing Kenyan forces in Somalia of illegally aiding and abetting the exportation of charcoal from the port of Kismayo farther south in Somalia. For the benefit of our viewers who are not familiar with the situation, why is this such a sensitive issue? Why is there so much noise around this?
Rama, it's indeed true that the Kenyan forces over there in Kismayo actually aided the export of charcoal. Then it's a sensitive issue because that will be contravening the ban by the United Nations Security Council February last year, that put a ban on the export of charcoal, saying the industry has been a major source of income for the Al-Shabaab. And of course, over the last couple of days, the Kenya Defense Forces in Kismayo have been on the spotlight, at one time getting accused for complicity in the fighting, the sectarian fighting over there, where the government of Somalia here accused KDF of having aided one faction of the militia over there. And at one time, a leak later from the Somali Office of the Foreign Affairs, supposedly to the AU, complaining officially about KDF's misconduct. But this is actually a very sensitive issue, if indeed it is true, and it so appears, because right now, as we know, is Reuters claimed to have seen the report. The source is only Reuters, and if it is true that the UN monitors found out that Kenya indeed aided the export of charcoal, then that's quite a sensitive issue, and it might have ramifications on the country.
Indeed. We'll have to leave it there for the time being, though. Thank you very much for that update. That's CCTV's Mohammed Morgan live from the Somali capital